Pecs. The story of a poor black girl crying "White" and a millionaire freezing when he sees what she is holding carries a deep emotional and motivational message that goes beyond just a dramatic moment. Pecs. At the heart of this narrative lies the contrast between two very different worlds, one of poverty and struggle, the other of privilege and abundance. The girl, coming from a place of hardship, Pecs, represents the voices that are often silenced or ignored by society. Her cry is not just a plea to stop, but a demand for attention, recognition, and humanity. The millionaire, Pecs, who is used to living in a world where people obey his power, suddenly finds himself in a situation where he must listen to someone society has cast aside. This reversal of roles is powerful because it reminds us that wisdom, truth, Pecs, and value are not limited to wealth or social status, but can come from anyone, even from those the world disregards. What the girl is holding becomes a symbol of truth, revelation, and inner strength. It might be something as simple as a small item tied to her past, a letter, a piece of evidence, or even a sign of sacrifice that carries weight beyond money. The millionaire, who freezes upon seeing it, Pecs, is shaken not because of the object itself but because of the meaning behind it. For the first time, he sees her not as a poor girl defined by her circumstances, but as a human being with a story, with courage, Pecs, and with a truth that he cannot ignore. This moment highlights how easily we judge people by appearances, wealth, or skin color, yet how one moment of courage can change everything. Pecs. The girl's cry represents the voice of the voiceless, the struggle of those who live in poverty, and the resilience of those who keep fighting despite rejection. Pecs. Her strength in that moment comes not from power or wealth but from conviction. She believes so strongly in what she is trying to stop that she risks humiliation and rejection to speak up. Pecs. This teaches us that true strength is not about money or influence, but about the courage to stand up for what is right, even when the odds are against you. Pecs. It also reminds us that opportunities to change lives often come in unexpected ways, and that compassion can be triggered in the most surprising moments. The millionaire's shock is equally important. Pecs. He represents those who live comfortably and rarely experience the pain of the less fortunate. His freezing in that moment shows that even the hardest hearts can be moved when confronted with undeniable truth. Pecs. It also suggests that wealth alone cannot shield us from the lessons of life. No matter how powerful or rich someone is, they can be humbled by a moment of raw honesty. The girl's action teaches him empathy, compassion, Pecs, and awareness, forcing him to question his own values. This story carries a motivational lesson for everyone. It reminds us that every voice matters and that we should never underestimate someone because of their background, color, Pecs, or economic condition. It shows that life-changing moments often come from those we least expect, and that sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who hold the greatest wisdom. It is also a call to kindness, Pecs, encouraging those with wealth or privilege to use their power, not to look down on others, but to lift them up. In the end, the story is not only about the girl or the millionaire, but about humanity as a whole. Pecs. It challenges us to see beyond appearances, to listen to voices we normally ignore, and to remember that the greatest lessons in life often come from the most unexpected places. It is a story of courage, humility, and transformation, reminding us that real wealth lies not in money but in compassion, truth, Pecs, and the courage to stand up and say "Wait" when something truly matters. The power of an unexpected voice is something that carries deep meaning in moments where silence is usually expected. Pecs. When a poor black girl cries out, "No ich," it is not just a word but a cry filled with urgency, pain, and a demand to be heard. In a world where the voices of the poor are often silenced or dismissed, Pecs, the act of speaking up becomes an act of courage. Her voice breaks through the barrier of wealth and status, forcing the millionaire to stop in his tracks and realize that something beyond his usual reality is unfolding. Pecs. It shows that even those who are seen as powerless can hold the ability to change the course of events with just a single word. The millionaire is not used to being stopped, questioned, or challenged, Pecs, especially by someone society views as insignificant. His life has been built around power, privilege, and control, where others usually adjust their lives to fit his presence. But when this girl speaks up, it is not her appearance, Pecs, her background, or her status that matters, it is the truth and force behind her words. This sudden interruption becomes a reminder that humanity cannot be measured by wealth or position. Pecs. It is in that instant that he realizes the value of listening, the importance of pausing, and the strength that lies in voices that often go unnoticed. The unexpected voice carries more than just sound. Pecs. It holds within it the struggles of generations, the pain of poverty, and the resilience of those who have been forced to fight for every step forward. Her cry is not only for herself, but also for those who have been silenced, pets, those who could not speak, and those who were ignored. By raising her voice, she demands recognition and respect. For the millionaire, this is a shock, pets, because he never expected that someone with so little could hold so much power simply through words. It humbles him and challenges the pride that comes from wealth. In that moment, pets, the imbalance of power between the poor and the rich is disrupted. The millionaire is forced to see her not as a poor girl, but as a human being with the strength to stand up and the courage to be heard. Pex. This is the power of an unexpected voice. It pierces through arrogance, shatters indifference, and awakens empathy. It is a reminder that truth does not belong to the rich, wisdom is not limited to the educated, Pex, and courage is not confined to the strong. Anyone, no matter how small they seem in the eyes of society, can hold the power to change another person's heart. This kind of voice becomes a turning point in the story, Pex, because it transforms the moment from one of dominance to one of humility. The millionaire, frozen by her words, is reminded that life is not about control or possession, but about understanding and connection. Pex. Her unexpected cry becomes a mirror, showing him his own humanity and vulnerability. It is as if her voice carries a force that money cannot buy, a truth that power cannot silence, and a strength that privilege cannot overcome. Pex. The lesson here is universal. Too often people underestimate the poor, the marginalized, and the forgotten. But history and life repeatedly show that it is often these very voices, when they rise, Pex, that bring about the greatest changes. An unexpected voice shakes the ground beneath the powerful, because it carries the authenticity of lived experience, unfiltered and untainted by pride. It demands to be heard, and when it is, Pex, it can alter the course of someone's life. That is the true power of an unexpected voice, and that is why the millionaire freezes, not out of fear of her presence, Specs, but out of respect for the truth carried in her cry. The symbolism of what the girl holds in her hands is central to the moment when she cries "W-ite," and the millionaire freezes. It is not simply an object, but something that carries meaning far greater than its physical form. It could be a small item, a keepsake, a letter, a photograph, or even something ordinary that becomes extraordinary because of the story attached to it. Pex. Whatever it is, the object becomes a powerful symbol of truth, struggle, and connection. It bridges the gap between the poor girl and the wealthy man, forcing him to confront something he cannot dismiss with money or power. Pex. In that instant, the object she holds strips away the illusions of superiority and reveals a reality that cannot be ignored. The poor girl's background makes the symbolism even stronger. She does not have wealth, fine clothes, or influence, but what she holds in her hands represents something money cannot buy: memory, sacrifice, or dignity. It might be connected to her past or a loved one, and it carries emotional weight that far exceeds material value. Pex. To her, it is a source of courage, and when she raises it before the millionaire, it is as if she is showing him the truth of her life. For him, who has always relied on wealth as the measure of importance, Pex, the sight of the object becomes a shock, because it breaks the illusion that only money gives something worth. Objects often become symbols because of the stories they hold. Pex. A letter could reveal a plea for help or a testimony of suffering. A photograph could connect the millionaire to a past he had forgotten or never knew. Even something simple like a small piece of jewelry or a child's toy, Pex, could represent innocence, hope, or a reminder of what really matters in life. For the girl, holding this object is her way of speaking without words, showing that her life, though poor in material things, is rich in meaning and truth. For the millionaire, the object becomes a mirror, reflecting his own values and forcing him to question whether he has forgotten the true essence of being human. The symbolism of what she holds also lies in its power to humble. The millionaire freezes not only because of the shock of recognition, but because in that moment, Pex, he realizes that wealth and status cannot compare to the weight of what the girl is carrying. It might symbolize love, resilience, or survival. It might even be a reminder of something he once valued but lost in the pursuit of riches. Pex. Whatever the exact meaning, it has the strength to bring him face to face with his own humanity. This shows that symbols are not about their physical form, but about the emotions, stories, and truths they represent. This moment is also a lesson about how society views worth. Too often, people measure value by how much something costs. But the girl's object teaches that true worth comes from meaning, not money. Pex. A millionaire may own gold and diamonds, but none of those can compare to a single item tied to love, sacrifice, or survival. The girl, though poor, holds something priceless, and that is what shakes the millionaire. It shows him that he cannot buy everything, and that some of the most important things in life come from places he would never expect. Ultimately, the symbolism of what the girl holds is what transforms the encounter. Her voice stops him, but the object she shows him gives meaning to that stop. It gives her authority in that moment, making her more than just a poor girl. She becomes a messenger of truth. The millionaire's reaction shows that even the most powerful can be humbled by symbols of human experience. This is why he freezes, because what she holds is not just an object, it is a story, a memory, it's a truth that cannot be denied. It becomes a turning point, reminding both him and everyone watching that true power lies not in possessions, but in meaning. The emotional impact of the moment when the poor black girl cries, "W.I." and reveals what she is holding cannot be overstated. Emotions are powerful forces that often drive human decisions more than logic or wealth. When the millionaire freezes, it is not because of the object alone, but because of the surge of emotions it awakens in him. Shock, confusion, empathy, and even guilt strike him all at once. For a man used to controlling situations with money and authority, this sudden emotional wave leaves him vulnerable in a way he has not experienced for years. It is as if the girl has unlocked a part of his heart that had been locked away behind layers of pride and detachment. The girl's cry and the object she reveals create a shared human moment that transcends social class. Her voice is filled with desperation, but also with courage. In that cry lies her pain, her fear, and her determination to be heard. For the millionaire, hearing such raw emotion is disarming. He is used to polite conversations, negotiations, and people carefully choosing words in his presence. But here is a child, poor and overlooked by society, daring to stop him with nothing but her voice and her tears. This authenticity cuts through the barriers of wealth and pride, stirring feelings that cannot be ignored. The impact of this moment extends beyond the millionaire's personal reaction. It reflects a truth about human nature, its emotions are universal. Rich or poor, everyone understands pain, loss, fear, and love. When the girl's emotions surface so openly, they connect to something deep within the millionaire's own experiences. Perhaps he remembers a time when he was powerless, or someone he loved who once cried out in desperation. In that moment, the gap between them begins to shrink, not through logic or wealth, but through emotion. The girl's tears and trembling voice also evoke empathy from anyone who witnesses the scene. People often overlook the poor, treating them as invisible or unimportant. Yet when emotion breaks through, it demands attention. It forces people to see not just a poor girl, but a human being with a story, a heart, and a struggle. This is why her cry has such power. It pierces through prejudice and reminds those around her that she is not defined by her poverty, but by her humanity. For the millionaire, the emotional impact also carries a sense of responsibility. Wealth often creates distance from suffering, but when that suffering is placed directly before him, he cannot hide behind riches. The girl's desperation demands an answer from him, not in money alone, but in compassion, action, and understanding. The shock he feels is not only from the object or the cry, but from the sudden realization that he has the power to change her life, and perhaps the lives of others like her. This realization creates an inner conflict between his old life of detachment and the new call to empathy that he can no longer ignore. The emotions of this moment also reveal the strength of the girl herself. Though poor, she chooses courage over silence. Though weak in material terms, she becomes powerful through her emotional honesty. Her ability to move the heart of a millionaire is proof that emotions can be stronger than money, status, or power. She reminds us that even those who seem to have nothing can possess the greatest strength of all, the ability to touch another person's soul. This emotional impact lingers long after the cry is spoken. It leaves the millionaire with questions about his own values, his own life, and the meaning of wealth. It plants a seed of change, showing that emotions are not a weakness but a force that can break down walls and rebuild hearts. The poor girl's cry, filled with raw emotion, becomes the turning point in both of their lives, showing that humanity and compassion are more powerful than riches. The turning point created by the poor black girl's cry and the object she reveals becomes a lesson about empathy and compassion. And point 4 focuses on how the millionaire learns to see beyond appearances. Up until that moment, the girl was invisible to him, just another poor child struggling to survive in a world where wealth often determines worth. But the cry "W" forces him to pause, to look, and to truly see her as a human being rather than a background figure in his wealthy, fast-paced life. It is in that pause that transformation begins. Seeing beyond appearances requires unlearning deeply ingrained assumptions. The millionaire may have been raised to associate poverty with laziness, weakness, or failure. Society often paints the poor with broad, unfair strokes, dismissing their struggles without understanding the systems that hold them down. When the girl interrupts him, she dismantles those assumptions in an instant. Her bravery and urgency show that strength can exist even in the most fragile circumstances. She is not simply a poor child begging for attention. She is a voice of truth and courage, teaching him to open his heart to perspectives he has ignored. Compassion begins when one is willing to step into another's shoes, to feel their pain as if it were one's own. The millionaire is shocked not just by her words but by the realization that his wealth has insulated him from the suffering that millions endure daily. In her trembling hands and tear-filled eyes, he sees a story that challenges his comfort. The object she reveals is not merely physical, it becomes symbolic of the pain, hope, and humanity hidden behind appearances. He begins to realize that compassion means more than writing a check or donating to charity. It means engaging with people, understanding their realities, and treating them with dignity. This moment also teaches him that appearances can be deceiving. He may have assumed that nothing valuable could come from someone like her, someone society had overlooked and dismissed. But in her courage and in the truth she reveals, he discovers wisdom and strength greater than what he often encounters among the wealthy. The lesson is clear: value is not determined by status, color, or wealth, but by the depth of character and the willingness to stand up for what is right. This challenges the millionaire to rethink not only how he views others, but also how he views himself. The impact of this lesson extends outward as well. For anyone observing, the girl's courage and his reaction serve as a reminder that compassion has the power to break barriers. It reminds people that kindness and empathy are universal languages that can bridge the gap between rich and poor, black and white, powerful and powerless. The girl's act creates a ripple effect, showing that even the smallest voice can inspire the biggest change. Her cry reveals not just danger or urgency, but the truth that human beings are connected, and ignoring someone because of their appearance can mean missing out on the most important lessons of life. For the millionaire, the moment is humbling. He realizes that all his wealth and power mean little if he cannot see and value the humanity in others. The poor girl, who at first seemed insignificant, becomes his teacher. Her presence and her truth remind him that compassion is not optional but essential. True success is not measured by what he owns, but by how he treats those who have less. The moment of shock, followed by reflection, becomes the seed of change in him. In the end, seeing beyond appearances is not just about the girl, it is about transforming the heart of the millionaire. It is about breaking down pride, prejudice, and indifference, and opening up space for empathy, humility, and love. The girl's cry and her courage peel back the layers of wealth and status to reveal a truth as old as humanity itself. Every person deserves to be seen, heard, and treated with dignity. The final point centers on transformation and change, the way a single moment can alter not only an individual's perspective, but also their entire life's direction. The poor black girl's cry of "Wait!" and the revelation of what she was holding marked the beginning of an irreversible shift in the millionaire's outlook. What once seemed like an ordinary day becomes the turning point where his values, priorities, and even identity are reshaped. Transformation in this context is not just about feeling temporary sympathy, but about awakening to truths that demand action. For most of his life, the millionaire may have been surrounded by wealth, luxury, and people who reinforced his worldview. Success in his eyes might have been measured only by material possessions, status, and recognition. But in that one encounter, he is confronted with the fragility of human life and the undeniable reality that his riches cannot insulate him from moral responsibility. The girl's courage plants a seed of reflection, forcing him to ask himself who he really is beyond the money. That self-questioning is the beginning of true change. Transformation is often uncomfortable because it challenges the very foundation of what one believes. For the millionaire, this means acknowledging that he has overlooked and even dismissed the struggles of people like the girl. He has likely walked past countless homeless children before, choosing not to engage, because it was easier to remain blind. But now the truth cannot be ignored. Her presence, her voice, and her bravery leave an imprint that he cannot escape. To move forward, he must decide whether to return to his old ways or embrace a new path that demands compassion and justice. Change also comes from recognizing the interconnectedness of human lives. The girl, poor and powerless in society's eyes, Bex, holds the ability to shift the heart of a man with wealth and influence. That paradox becomes the catalyst for his transformation. He learns that power is not just about money, but about the ability to uplift others, Bex, to use one's influence to create a better world. True strength lies not in control but in service, and her example teaches him that even the smallest act of courage can ripple outward and inspire greater good. This journey of transformation is not limited to the millionaire alone. The story represents how anyone, no matter their position, can be changed by an unexpected encounter. It challenges audiences to reflect on their own lives and ask, who have I ignored, overlooked, or dismissed because of appearances or assumptions? In that reflection lies the possibility of personal growth. Just as the millionaire's heart begins to soften, so too can ours when we allow empathy to lead us. The change is also about responsibility. Real transformation cannot remain internal, it must manifest in actions. For the millionaire, this might mean using his wealth to support children like the girl, advocating for those whose voices go unheard, or simply treating people with kindness and dignity. The encounter shows him that wealth without purpose is hollow, but when used for good, it becomes a tool for change. His shock evolves into conviction and conviction into a new way of living. Finally, transformation is about hope. The girl's cry does more than save a moment, it sparks the possibility of a better future. She proves that even in the darkest circumstances, one act of courage can ignite light. For the millionaire, her impact offers a second chance, a chance to live with meaning rather than emptiness. For the audience, the story serves as a reminder that transformation is always possible, no matter one's past. Change begins the moment we choose to see, to listen, and to act with love. This final point ties the story together by showing that true transformation is not accidental, but the result of being open to life's unexpected teachers. The poor girl becomes a symbol of resilience and truth, while the millionaire embodies the possibility of redemption. Their encounter teaches that no one is too powerful to change, and no one is too small to inspire it.